All right, let's see. That's not quite hooked up yet. They'll be rolling in a second. It'll be like an avalanche.
No worries.
Oh, here we go. All right, so it's on, but it hasn't clicked on. That sound? Yeah.
It says we're live.
Yeah, we got sound. All right. Let's just give it a 30 to 60 seconds. Let me share it out to the network. Yeah, the lag has been about 10 to 15 minutes, but we're getting a tremendous amount of replay.
Oh.
Yeah, it usually takes about 24 to, well, at the time I'm broadcasting now, it's taking about 24 to 36 hours, I've noticed. But very soon we'll be on our own site. We've been talking about it more and more. And what we'll do is we'll put little teasers out like we've done with your stuff and other people, and just like 2 or 3 minutes, and then they can go to the site, which will be easy for them to get to. All right, so we've got 8 people in the house. I'm going to go ahead and just roll the show out. This is the third time on SoulSpeaks 5D that we've had our brother Jason Estes out of DFW, who's been doing the good work for a long, long time. I think a lot of people are now familiar with him that weren't, in the Soulogy community and otherwise, and Activation Station, and some of the other things that he's getting into. Jason went offline, I think, the first part of December. I want to say around my birthday, around the 9th or so.
Yeah.
And he checked out till the 20th, and when he came back on, he put up an interesting post, which we were talking before the show that correlated with some of the other stuff people I'm familiar with were getting too, just said in a different way. So without further ado, let me welcome Jason Estes, our brother, back. Thank you for your service to humanity, and thank you for honoring us with your presence today.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it's an honor to be on the show, actually. I really love this platform, and I love what it's capable of doing and where we're headed with it. So I'm looking forward to kind of watching that. And I just want to welcome everyone that's here, as well as all the people who watch this, to the Infinite Game. We've arrived, we've made it. And that is just, for anyone who's been doing the work, it's about to start paying off. So that's an amazing opportunity that we are in right now for that. And I feel like I kind of want to start with just a few of the questions I've gotten, because a few people have been messaging me and asking me questions like, so how do I get my mind to be quiet, is like a #1 question people ask me. And I think that the problem is that you want your mind to be quiet. So when you want your mind to be quiet, you actually can't quiet your mind. When you learn to accept your mind as it is and start to listen and really go through the process, because anything that's talking to you is talking to you for a reason. Yeah. So if we take that time to really listen to what is being said, then all of a sudden the voices, they go away. Those thoughts, they go away until eventually there is clarity. But it comes from accepting where you are and then moving forward. And another really big question I get is, how do I know where I am on the path or the journey or the ascension or all these other things? And the answer is, we're in an infinite game, right? So there is no beginning and there is no end. There is just what we're going through right now as best we can handle it. So it doesn't matter how evolved you think you are, how evolved or de-evolved you think you are. All that matters is that you're having fun and you're learning, you're growing, and you're expanding. So those things, I feel like, is the most important part about understanding the infinite game, is have fun, go play. Like, the content of being spiritual is overrated. Knowing the whole lexicon of spirituality and being able to quote all these different terms and ideas, that's helpful in some ways, but it's better to just be a good person and go into the world and do good. Because if you do those two things, you're going to grow in an exponential way, and the world's going to keep rewarding you to help you to grow more. But if we continue to think that we have to be good, then we're no longer being good. It's important that we be good for goodness sake. No other reason. Just simply, I want to be good, so I'm going to be good. Not, I want to be good because I was bad yesterday.
Yeah.
These beliefs, they keep us from coming into present time. And as long as we are doing something for a reason other than just because we want to, we're actually delaying ourselves from growing in that huge way.
Yeah. You said something last time we talked. You talked about how you were kind of, reclusive, doing your work for all these years, and that really that first show was one of the first parts of you stepping out, I guess, publicly. But I think more to my point would be you talked about how, from an embodying sense into the human part of us, you had to go out into the world. You talked about having to go out into the world, like having all this knowledge and everything that everybody can connect to. No doubt, there's plenty of people doing it. Is great, but what's so great about it if we don't use it? So
Absolutely.
I guess my question or statement or whatever that you could maybe add to is, and give us your thoughts is, how important is the human? I mean, we're human for a reason, aren't we?
Absolutely.
I mean, so we get all this information, and that's great. Is it or is it not to be utilized to enhance our life experience, community, world, and universe?
Absolutely. Yeah, so we're here on Earth right now, like in the infinite value of who we were, and this is part of the infinite game. We chose from the all-knowing that we are, the highest version of possibility that we could be, to choose this moment to incarnate into. And I think that goes without saying, but like to acknowledge that, just to simply say, whoa, the greatest value I've ever been chose to come right here, right now. That's in itself just impressive, right? The fact, the sheer magnitude of who you are is fully capable of being here is just mind-blowing. And yet so many people take it for granted. Every day that we have a breath in our lungs is a great day, regardless of the circumstances. But as long as we see circumstances as more powerful than life, we're going to lose. And if we want to win and we want to be successful and we want to grow, gratitude is the only way to go. Like, you have to be in that state of gratitude. And it's hard. I know a ton of people that I've worked with for years who gratitude doesn't come naturally. And it doesn't come naturally. We are conditioned to not be grateful. We're conditioned to always want the next greatest thing instead of celebrating the thing we have so that we're ready for the next greatest thing. And that's kind of what this next transition is for us as a people, as a race, as a planet, is coming into this new frequency of gratitude. So one part of the infinite game that's just very important is from now till February 18th is a time where we're in a transition. We are coming into this space where it's like, okay, what does it mean to be infinite? What does it mean to be outside of time while being in time? What does it mean to expand? All of these words are new to us. We're learning for the first time what it means to be infinite. How can we be infinite inside of a finite existence? And the mind just immediately checks out.
Yeah, you just put 2 or 3 things out there I want to make sure we cover, because this is gold. And I want to say first that when you said, why don't we call it Welcome to the Infinite Game? I love the connotation because, and this is what I got from it, and you add to it or correct it, is that this is why we came. We actually came to be conscious, to connect, and start pulling in that infinite intelligence, and then start to actually embody it. And so we're now at a point now where we actually can consciously kind of move from a human to a divine, multidimensional human functioning in this reality, or this game, this infinite game that you're talking about. Is that close to what you meant by infinite game?
Absolutely. So first of all, you have to understand that we're in what is called a free will verse. So we actually can make choices and decisions, right? A lot of people prep in a non-free will zone, which means they actually go to a planet where free will is not initiated, and they learn a concept through being forced to do that concept without choice. Now, it's not a bad thing. Like, you might go live for 1,000 years and learn about the concept of loyalty. That's not bad. You're learning to be loyal for 1,000 years, and that helps you to gain a characteristic of loyalty. But the moment that you come to Earth, everything that you have practiced for is kind of tested in that way. And you actually make decisions and actions that either enforce that loyalty or teach you something else. So here's like a testing ground. And to be here, you have to be a master class soul or higher anyway. So if you're here, you're awesome. And if you're alive, that's even better, right? So the step is be here and be alive, not just be here and live, but be alive. Actually allow your experiences to teach you. Pay attention to the world. Don't live on autopilot. One of my very first practices I teach my students is the great pause, which is simply this. So this is a glass of water, right? So I just simply say out loud, I am committing to drink this water. And I follow through. What I've just done is I've taken my divinity and put it into my body and overlaid it in such a way that the entities that take over my body and put me on autopilot, aka things I've given responsibility to take care of me, is no longer relevant. So I claim power back from that experience until eventually every action is conscious. So I choose to grab this water glass. It's not that my body needs water and therefore I pick up the water glass. These are some of the really cool techniques that you need to learn in order to survive in the infinite game, is to be conscious, be aware of everything. The I am committing technique is a great way to start that process, but there are millions of other ways.
Yes.
Draw a painting. When you're drawing a painting, feel each brushstroke. Feel the energy run through you that creates the brushstroke. Move your body. Pay attention to every single muscle as best you can as you're moving your body. There are lots of ways to become conscious. Yoga is a great way. Tai Chi is a great way. There's a lot of them. But the best way is to find your own way. Because if you can find what works for you and actually hone it into you working on you through your own source, you've begun the infinite game.
Yeah, I can relate to that. When I started, and I spent the first couple of years doing what I was doing. I spent a lot of time dancing, and I never had. And but you said something that brought it back, and I remember, and it was my own way. It's totally my own way. But I can remember feeling all the joints, be the wrist, the elbow, the knee, the hip, as I was doing it night after night, feeling them all individually, but moving in a type of synergetic, synchronicity, or just in a certain pattern. So that's very true. That's a good point. And that is, for me, that was an intuitive way that I got there, which is what you're saying is the best way is your way.
Exactly. I'm not saying don't go out in the world and learn about things, right? I'm saying go out in the world and learn about things and then make it your own. Yeah. So go to a dance class if you really want to go to a dance class. Experience the dance class. Then take it home and try the dance class in your own way.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that you copy other people. It means that you duplicate other people. You learn from them, their mastery, and then you apply it to your mastery, and then you test it out in the world to gain wisdom. And that wisdom is yours. That's part of the infinite game. That's part of this process. And what we're about to witness, and this is something I've been really waiting for, is that February 18th date. Because the end of the false prophets, it's the age of the false prophets that we're currently in right now.
Let's hold up right there, because I want to make sure that we catch everything, because I already missed one.
Okay.
So February 18th is a line in the sand again. Now you talk about this transition between now and then, and you brought that up at the top of the show. What exactly, can you go over again, reiterate what's happening, what the opportunity is, challenges and such between now and February 18th before we get into that part of it?
Okay, yeah. So right now, today is the 28th, and we now have a celestial mainframe instead of an astral mainframe. So what that means, just for the people that don't understand those terms, astral just means misunderstood. So the reason we incarnate is we have a misunderstanding, and we come to Earth to explore that misunderstanding and make it an understanding. Because if we have no misunderstandings, we have no reason to be here. And that's the whole purpose of that. So now that we have transitioned from that need to come here with misunderstandings, and now we're coming here with an understanding, and we're able to explore that understanding, we're in a whole nother paradigm, which started today at 5 a.m. Central Standard Time. So basically 12 hours ago, we began this new way of being.
What time was it? 5?
5 a.m. Yeah, so 12 hours and 20 minutes ago.
So that'd have been 2 a.m. out here. I'm just trying to get a little backdrop there because of my evening. and things that went down. Yeah, but it felt like it did. Last night was an incredible night. Morgan and I, got caught in the rain, standing under a tree, soaking wet. I mean, it was magnificent. It was a magnificent night, just all together. The energy. So I knew something was going on.
Yeah.
Now, do we have an opportunity between now and February 18th to maximize our potential?
Absolutely. So on the February 18th point is when it will actually be required of us to stay, is to become authentic and to begin that process of self-sourcing our information, really exploring what it is to be here and to be present and conscious. Prior to that point, anyone who begins the journey is going to be a lot easier in the future, right? Because after the February 18th, we begin the purge, and the purge is not going to be fun for people if they aren't actually letting go. If you're trying to flee and hold on to something, that's not going to be a great time.
Yeah, that was my follow-up question. It sounds like there's going to be some hard falls here. You said something about the false prophet. I would say the yogi guru thing, which to me is just I guess was a frequency of in some level, whether it was conscious or not, of superiority, inferiority, a separation when you get right down to it. Right. So empowerment, disempowerment.
That's more about a lineage concept, and that was important to get us from 3D to 4D. So that was very helpful. Where we are now is very different in that false prophets are actually people who are perpetuating lies and illusion on purpose. They know that they are doing what they're doing, and they're doing it anyway.
Yeah.
And it's because of usually financial reward or fame, fortune, all those things. The good news is, as of today, because now we're running a celestial mainframe for the first time since the beginning, which is like 18,000 years ago, we're now in this place where we can start to see that truth very clearly. So if someone is speaking truth, we're going to feel that and be like, whoa, I don't understand a word they just said, but I know they're right.
Yeah.
Versus the false prophets are going to speak and we're going to feel this like sickness, almost like just disgust for what's coming through. And it's important that we don't judge the false prophets, and it's important that we don't judge the true prophets. We don't need to make anyone greater than they are.
Right.
It's simply, this is what it is, and this is what it is. And we'll know the difference. And that's the beauty, is for the first time ever, we're going to begin to know the difference. For the longest time, if you had a kernel of truth, everyone thought you were truth because no one else could find truth. And so they would just attach to other people's truth. And that worked for the 3D to 4D transition, right? That's where the gurus and the things were, because someone discovered something and they were able to share it with others. It helped people open the door. But now that the door is open, it's time for us to explore that door, and whatever that may mean to each person. So that's what the infinite game is. Getting to that door was the game. Now that we've opened that door, we are now in the infinite game. And that's today, like 5 a.m. this morning. We are now here in the infinite game. It is the greatest time in history on the earth.
Yes, I'm with you on that, brother. Now, you said it went to a celestial mainframe, and if I can put it back into Todd's layman terms, the celestial mainframe sounds like to me is where we've got to the point where now we know why we're here. We've got the information, and now we can kind of start computing or programming, for lack of a better word, ourselves to have some fluidity in the flow of the universal, vibration.
Yeah. So we, the incarnates on the earth currently, have not reached that as a collective, because that's what the purge is about, is letting go of all those things, those beliefs of who we thought we were, the identities that we took on as we progressed forward, so on and so forth. The children that are being born right now, actually any child that was born after November 21st of 2018 is born as a celestial, which means that their frequency of purity is just raising the planet exponentially constantly. Yeah. So we now have an opportunity to become children again, to let go of all the things that got us to where we are. I think the biggest problem is going to be for the leaders of the world currently, because those leaders of the world are also going to go through a detox. Regardless of where you've been in your life, you could be the greatest teacher the world's ever known, and it doesn't matter, because you were the greatest teacher the world's ever known before that door was opened.
Yeah.
And now that that door is open, everything prior to that world is kind of irrelevant. Like everything we've done, celebrate and be grateful for. But as we move forward, be ready to let it go. Because any identity that you think that you are is just a limit that you have to let go of. It doesn't matter. You could be an archangel. You could be an ascended master. You could be a god. I don't care. All of those words and terms are from the other side of the door. And now that we have crossed that threshold, they're irrelevant. You simply are.
Which could also be a successful athlete, successful business person.
Exactly.
Other labels, because they're all one and the same. Yeah, I forgot what I was going to ask you. Okay, so purge. Now, I know what I was going to say. Now, with the work that I do, I see again a common thread in what you're saying. What's going to happen or be forced upon us, and we have this opportunity in this transition to prepare by working on removing those impressions that we had of ourselves. So what I was getting at is that there obviously are people that have been doing this work on themselves, and through their soul effort, whether it be consciously or not, universal cooperation and alignment, are realizing, hey, I'm stepping away from that. That's not me. This role is not me, and that story isn't me, and that triumph isn't me, and that failure isn't me. So these in the same respect, this is kind of what's happening now. We all have this opportunity, if we have the desire, I would assume, to grow, to be able to remove these things. Is that right?
Yeah. And not only do we have this opportunity, but it's like being handed to us. So before, you would have to sit in meditation for hours. Now just close your eyes and want to let go of something and be ready, because it will go away. It's that fast. Like it's unbelievable how fast things are now. And they're just going to keep going faster. So one thing you said that I really want to just point out, you said the word force, and everyone has a choice. So there is going to be a separation that takes place on that 18th, like I said. So you have the people that are ready to grow and to move forward into the next world, which, as I said in the other show, we are now becoming the ascended realm. Whereas before we were a free will verse, but we weren't an ascended realm, and Venus was the ascended realm. We're now moving to this space where Earth is now the ascended realm, and a place where ascended masters can come for training and growing, and just be this community of ascended masters eventually. In like the next few years, we actually are going to have so many of them. And as they grow up, it's just going to be amazing. Yeah. And we all have the capability, because the infinite game means that you could be an ascended master because you're infinite, right? So you've already been that. You could be all of these words. It doesn't matter. It's just simply possible now. And everything that was impossible is now possible. We now have a capability as a race of beings to explore something that we as a race of beings have never been able to explore. Yeah. As individuals, yes, you could always, cross over and change things. But as a race, the whole race of the human race is now free to make this decision. And they will. And the ones who don't make it, that's okay, because they've chosen to go back and study more. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Let's talk about, I just saw my dear friend, Carrie Chu, pop something up about 5G. And I'm not picking on her or picking on 5G. I'm just using this as an example. From your perspective, in terms of this transition and afterward, how does this whole thing start to alter in terms of these self-induced fear consciousness or self-implanted fears that we create for ourselves, these boogeymans that we create? I don't believe the external world has any power over me, whether it be 5G or anything else.
So I don't know what 5G is.
5G Wi-Fi. There's been a lot of, so there's a lot of talk that it's that's a way to control us and whatever, blah blah blah, chemtrails and GMOs and all that. I mean, I feel energetically in my own universe, I can only speak for myself, that I've been alchemizing stuff for years. Yeah. Just in an instinctive way, with more and more success, and obviously more training or whatever. But are we going to see the magical, divine human begin to offset these illusions of control that are basically fear-based programming? Because I mean, this is
Absolutely.
BS, you know.
So there's a huge process going on right now behind the scenes that I can't really comment on a lot of yet because it's just not time. But I will eventually talk about that as well, just not on this show. There is a huge process going on. And what I'm here to tell people right now is simply work on yourselves. Because I promise you, the world is changing behind the scenes, and eventually it is going to be revealed. But it's not time yet. There's just so much that can be shared at a time, and it has to be slow but surely. So I will say that I don't know a lot about the things that people believe are affecting, but the more that we believe that they are affecting, the more power they have to affect.
Yeah.
So be aware of that, because if I believe that something has power over me, it has power over me.
Yeah.
I don't really worry with what the world does because I can't change it. But if I change myself, the world changes. So I spend my time working on me.
Change yourself and everything around you changes.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I think another thing I think of too as I'm talking to you, I love talking to you, is everything has an you know, a conscious intelligence or an intelligence. It's all the same substance. So, you know, if you got some kind of microwave coming at you or whatever it is, 5G or whatever, and you can actually empower that thing. And that's kind of what you're saying too, really. If you believe it, it's going to, you know, it's going to be true.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we talk the purge, and I know how you're talking about this. The purge sounds a little scary.
Yeah, it can be scary to people who choose to make it scary.
Yeah,
Honestly, what it is it's an opportunity. The purge is simply an opportunity to let go and unpack faster than humans have ever unpacked, and they are capable of it. They have more support than they've ever had. I mean, there's so many technologies on this planet that are just there to help them. But on top of all of that, there are the universal gifts that we've been given that are being given to our planet constantly. So it's like, yeah, this is not that hard anymore. Where like 10 years ago, to do what they're going to ask us to do if we want to stay, that would have been impossible for everyone. Everyone would have just been like, no, I can't even imagine doing that, because it wasn't imaginable. But what we are capable of doing in these next 10 years to prepare, because that's what we have, is 10 years to change before the gifts expire, basically. Those next 10 years are going to be life-changing, radical. By the end of May, when we finish the purge and we begin the process of rebuilding on truth as a foundation, miracles. We're going to witness the world begin to change so fast that it's going to make our heads spin. And what we thought has changed since 1987 fast is going to happen so much faster.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And I guess, too, because I would think most of the people, if not all of the people that watch this live and replay are on it, you know, to the best of their ability, or at least consciously as much as they can as they deal with what we call life and learn to flow more. But so I think another thing to that would be helpful is when we see, because this is coming up, I've had a couple of people actually hit me up today on it. When we see one of our brothers or sisters spinning out, when we see them, you know, denying those things that they think they are resisting removing those labels and those beliefs that they had of their own self-image, really, that's what it gets down to. What is your advice? What do we do?
Nothing.
Nothing, yeah.
So you work on you until someone comes to you to tell you that they need help. Because if no one else is asking for help, it means that you're the only one that needs it.
And what about those people who feel their jobs are to help, such as
if your job is to help, then you'll have people asking you for help.
Yeah, true, that's right.
But if your job is to help, then the best person that you could ever help is yourself.
Yeah. Now, what you're saying that there is from May of 2019, there's a 10-year period where we are allowed as a collective in this realm, in this now ascended realm, to utilize these full blown. Everything's revealed. The veil's totally gone. We've got everything at our disposal, and we will be allowed to utilize these things to expand this universe from ourselves outward.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, there's going to be a little bit of restrictions, but those restrictions will go away as we go forward. I kind of like to look at it like training wheels. Humanity is going to have training wheels as a new ascended planet. Like that's going to be there just because you want to keep people safe enough to have their process, but at the same time, give them the wisdom necessary to move forward. So that's what those 10 years are really about, is just humanity seeing enough that they're able to grow, but at the same time, not seeing the totality of it because it would be too much.
Yeah. It's moving too fast.
After those 10 years are over, we're looking at a very different, like the training wheels go away. And then the ability to explore becomes literally infinite. I mean, you're even traveling to different planets at that point. So it's going to be pretty amazing.
Oh, you mean we can't do that now?
No, I mean literally traveling to different planets.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Fair enough.
But
but as a race.
Oh, yeah, as a race.
I'm referring to, when I'm talking, I'm not talking about individuals. Because like individually, you can go through and ascend all the way up into the God realm and still have a physical form. Like it's possible to do that. However, as a race, it's almost impossible for every single being right now to do that overnight. But in the next 10 years, you're looking at a completely different race of humans, an unlocked race of humans.
Which is going to have some collective gifts as well, which we might say have been held back, which obviously, free energy, life expand, life prolongment, medical stuff, all that different stuff. It's all kind of coming together. Is that correct? Because your information seems to be coming in from like a beyond galactic type of thing, with the whole big picture in front of you.
I have been given the information for the next 10 years, but I've also been told what I can and can't share. I can tell you that it is a very bright, wonderful world that's ahead of us, and that there is many things shifting and changing behind the scene to make that actually work. One thing I can tell you, though, and this is something that I have heard a lot about, is people believe there's going to be this huge debt forgiveness and that they should go out and charge all this money on credit cards and all these other things. Anything that you do, you will be held responsible for. So if there is a debt forgiveness that happens and currency is reset for whatever reason, the energetic karma that you have created by choosing to be irresponsible and steal from others is going to catch up with you eventually. So my advice, go ahead.
Yeah. No, I was going to say, to make the distinction. So if you could take, say, one person, I think the idea behind it, because I'm not real big on this whole reset and all that, the Nasara and all that stuff. You don't know what a program and what's not a program, but it makes sense that if this thing's getting corrected and there was a false financial system, debt, enslavement, agenda and all that, you'd have one person who maybe had, a whole bunch of debt from that system, like me, years and years ago, that's still sitting there technically. And then you have even someone like me who said, oh, this is coming, so I'm going to go charge a bunch of stuff up. Maybe that all gets wiped out, but that second part of that debt that's incurred with the intention of how occurred is going to come, it's going to be right in your face, right? You're going to have to pay the piper on that. Yeah.
There is no such thing as free. Everything in life is an exchange. So as long as you have a balanced exchange in life, which means that you are doing good in the world more than you are doing harm in the world, then your life will progress forward. You will grow. You'll have more opportunities. It will be a wonderful life. But the moment that you take more from life than you give, you have now created a negative exchange, and the world is going to start taking from you. But it's only doing that so that you can grow and be a responsible creator. Again, it's not like this is bad and this is good. Both are good. They're both lessons that are needing to be learned. We're here to become responsible creators. So stealing from a system is a consequence that is going to come. It's not bad that you're stealing. It's not evil. It's just simply you're doing something that's changing the balance.
Yeah, it's not free.
Exactly.
Especially if you have a higher awareness anyway. Now, you had written in your post, I think right when you came back, and you talked about this transition up to February 18th, but you also talked about, and I didn't want to bring it up, but I realize now that it's already passed, you also brought up, I think it was the 21st through the 28th, kind of a mini period where you could kind of get a jump on things. Can you, and that's passed already, but what was that? Was that the same thing?
That
Just
was
like a
the test.
little,
Yeah. So when the celestial mainframe was updated, everyone that was alive on the planet was given a series of tests on where they would be in the movement of manifestation potential. So these last few days have been really hard for a lot of people because they've been facing their greatest fears in their dream time, as well as just being consciously aware and going through the stream. Because basically the meditative stream, which is where you go when you dream, and also where you can be when you're in a state of meditation, was all these little boxes were dropped in the stream. And you could open these boxes and you could solve the riddle and you could grow really fast. Or you let the box pass you by, and that's okay because they just expand the box and they give it to you over 10 years now. But for those people who did take the jump start, that took the initiative to actually open those boxes, face their fears, grow through them, and gain that confidence and that courage, they have noticed that the world for them now is like full of opportunities. There are so many new opportunities for these people that it's blowing their minds. I've had an opportunity to talk to quite a few of them, and they're just like, I don't even know what to do. There's so many choices, and they're all good.
Now, then you have another slant on that, which I don't want to get too personal on my end, but I saw because I've been on this journey, for a couple of years, especially the last couple of years, and I see these cycles of faithfulness and abundance. It's like, how deep can you go? How deep can you go? How long can you hold this vibration when on the human side it looks like there's nothing there, but I'm starting to really see everything much more clearly as energy.
Yep.
And when you brought that up about the energetic, if somebody went and charged a bunch of stuff, knowing that the reset was coming, that's an energetic thing. It's not even the physical thing. So is there another side to this where I almost feel like in the last couple of years, and I know that people talked about this, like we're being tested. You're being tested to hold this vibration. And then the windfall comes, windfall being abundance in all ways. It seems like I'm kind of going through that right now. And I feel like this big, beautiful boom is right there on the other side of a door. And I'm just waiting for the door to materialize because I realize now I can't control. The more I try to control this stuff, the more I'm actually being controlled.
Yep. That's exactly
do you see? Yeah, I mean, do you see? It's almost like you're almost like in a purgatory. It's like I can almost hear a drone, and I'm just like in darkness. I'm just there moving along, and I can see the human. I can see from the higher self. And I'm just moving along, and I have this incredible patience and peace, and I just. I guess I'm not seeing it as linear anymore. It's just, I don't know what it is. I just find it very interesting and fascinating.
So what you're talking about is hope, but more specifically called the light of hope, which is actually the gift that we get on May 18th. And the light of hope is one of the Ascended Masters' gifts. It's a very powerful shift in the way that we see the world. So imagine that if you saw the world from a place of hope versus a place of fear and scarcity, what would the world look like? It would look completely different, right? Everything would become an opportunity to grow, including the struggles, versus an opportunity to get hurt, or this is going to take money from me. I'm not going to be able to afford things. I'm going to miss this. I'm going to miss this. I'm going to miss this. And then all of a sudden you miss all those things because you've empowered the missing of those things and you're learning to be a responsible creator, right? So the universe is like, well, I mean, if that's what they really want, we'll just let them miss those things. But the light of hope is designed to help us to learn to be hopeful creators, to see everything as an opportunity. Basically, the mentality right now and what's been taught to us is the world happens to us. And now we're moving to a place where the world happens for us. Yeah. The world is becoming a playground. It's always been a playground, but our perspective said that it was a maze, that it was dangerous, that it was impossible. And now our change in this perspective is like, oh, it's a playground. There are all these wonderful things that I can do. And that's what the light of hope is this ability to cultivate that perspective and to eventually live it, to embody that perspective. So that's one of the main reasons why the world changes in May.
Yeah. Very cool. Very cool. So from now till February 18th, everybody work on yourself, you know, which is really what everybody's been doing more and more and more of as this whole trip's gone on. But as you're saying, there's some exponential effects, you know, caused by the work that we're doing now. You know, we've got more cooperation, more power, more everything, right?
Yeah, more everything. Yeah. I like that. That's very true.
Yeah. So what else you got? You got anything else?
Well, I wanted to talk a little bit about where we're headed in that sense. So we have more of everything. We have this opportunity to utilize that more of everything. But the problem is that we don't believe we are worthy of that more of everything. So as long as we don't believe we're worthy, we're going to run into those problems. So like you were saying, you felt that test of like, everything is good, everything is great. And then all of a sudden you get handed something and you're like, no, I'm not worthy of it, right? That challenge that happens inside our mind that says, oh, no, I can't receive this, is what stops us from getting that more of everything. And as long as we are responsible with that more of everything, we will continue to get more of everything until we hit one of those walls. And that wall is very well hidden. You can't just go, oh, this is where the wall is. No, it doesn't work that way. The universe hands you something and you go, oh, I can't handle this. I've talked to multiple people over the last few weeks who were living their dream. Like they literally had everything they'd ever wanted just coming to them. And then they took on a major injury and they had to let it go. Their back gave out, or they had like a really bad headache and they just missed an opportunity. And the reason was because they weren't ready to receive that, because they weren't worthy of it. And I want to talk about this because I've heard this a lot in like communities talking about this, is there's this deserved mentality, right? Like in the world, there are so many people who say they deserve a good life. They deserve these things. And the reality of it is, if you deserve something, you have it. I promise you. There is nothing in this world that if you truly deserve, you don't have. The difference is, if you're worthy of something, you can then move into it. And deserved is something that is already there, right? So if I deserve to have a roof over my head, I will have that roof over my head. If I don't have a roof over my head, I can ask, why don't I deserve this? Is it me? Is there something inside of me that believes I'm not worthy of this? Is it the universe being mean to me? Am I going to play the victim game? And if I'm playing the victim game, is that the reason why I don't have the roof over my head? So that I can learn not to play that victim game. And it's that challenge of, what am I truly worthy of? And what can I do to cultivate that worthiness? Because being is the highest state of life, right? Like that's the greatest place to be. However, being is like sitting like this. I can sit like this forever. Eventually, I'm not going to have what I need because I'm simply being. The cool part about being a responsible creator is a responsible creator creates something, goes into it, experiences it, learns from it, and then comes back to center, observes what they learned, applies what they learned, and then goes back into the world and learns something new. You see, that's how we become successful. We step out, we make a mistake if we need to make a mistake. We learn from that mistake. We come back into center. We don't get triggered. We don't blame. We don't shame. We come back to center. We figure out what it is. We apply what we learned. We come back out into the world, and slowly but surely we become successful.
Yeah.
By doing this, every time that we come into the center and then move into action, we become more worthy of a greater world. And that's just how it works. Yeah. So I would like to just caution everyone, especially as we move forward, no matter what you have done in your life, don't think that you deserve anything that you don't have. If you have something, you can say, oh, I deserve to have a roof over my head because I have it right now. And that's okay. But change deserve to have a roof over your head to I am worthy of having a roof over my head. Change that word in your mind, because if you can change that word in your mind, the world will reflect it very fast. Because where we're moving to is you have to be worth something to receive it. It doesn't matter what you believe you're entitled to. The age of entitlement is over. We're now moving into the age of authenticity, which means if I truly am worthy of something, I will have that I am worthy of. And if I don't have it, spend the time to figure out why I don't have it. Dedicate yourself to being worthy of something you want. Learn through it, grow, experience, but most of all, go out into the world and actually do things to learn and to grow. Don't just sit in spiritual escapism. And that's the challenge that we're all going to be facing up until February.
Almost like we're, yeah, you're right about that. That spiritual bypassing. Yeah. It's a new day. We've turned the page.
We flipped the switch. The world is now very, very different. And I can't wait to see what we do with it.
Yeah, I said, let's start now.
Exactly.
So again, how does everybody get into find you? They find you on your personal page on Facebook and also activationstation.com. Is that right?
Activationstation.org.
.org. And then you've got a couple other ones too, I think, right?
Yeah, mtbo.org. But again, that's something that we're launching next year. So we're kind of in the process of getting it. So if anyone does go there, just be warned that it is in development. So you can contact people through it, but it is in development.
Very cool. And you have an independent Facebook page to your personal page?
No, I only have my personal page. And I do my best to respond to everyone on it. And I believe in having a community on Facebook. So if you ask a question, just ask it directly under whatever my newest post is. And I do my best to respond to it. I have students that respond to it. I have a wonderful community that responds to it. So we try to answer everything as fast as we can.
Yeah, very good. Very good, man. So maybe we can get an update. See, we got February 18th. We're just talking, what, 6 weeks? 7 weeks?
Yeah,
really?
A lot will have changed by then. It's going to be awesome.
Maybe we can collaborate again, or whenever, whenever it resonates. But maybe we get a halftime state of the transition, see what's happening. I'm sure it's going to be, like I was telling you prior to the show, and I said on the last show, I got in the car with a friend a couple of days ago, and she said something changed. Everything is clear. Everything is seen for what it is. No more BS. Everything is, you can see it for what it is. And I think first and foremost, that's, ourselves. I mean, we may not be conscious of something that is within ourselves, but it's going to get louder and louder and louder until we absolutely, either go screaming and kicking or, surrender. Surrender to the embrace. Yeah.
And on that, I appreciate it. I actually wanted to talk about one other thing. Thanks for reminding me. There's this thing that's happening right now called the body speed up phase. And what that is we have these things around us called ridges, which is things that we believe we are, identities, labels, precepts, all those things that are just around our energy field. So when people look at us, they see what we project ourselves to be. And when we look at other people, we see them through the filters of what we believe them to be. So the body speed up phase is our bodies are literally vibrating faster, so much so that those ridges that I was talking about are dissolving. We're no longer having these mental image pictures that are like caked all over us. So people are starting to see the truth of who we are. Now, this also helps with the false prophet thing because most false prophets like to wear masks. And because they're wearing these masks, we can't see the truth of them unless we've got a lot of study under our belts. That's going away too, because those masks aren't able to be held anymore in place because the vibration's happening inside ourselves, which is causing us to go through physical detoxes, headaches, nausea, diarrhea. All those things are very normal when you're going through an ascension, and we are going through an ascension at warp speed. So it's not just that we're going through an ascension, we are going through an ascension faster than our human bodies are designed to handle. So one thing I will say is there are 3 things that really help with the body speed up phase: cell salts, adaptogens, and a coconut carbon. Usually you can find a coconut carbon activated charcoal. Those are very helpful. But those 3 things will help you handle this process in such a gentle way in comparison to where we're going. I really want you to know that. So for anyone out there listening.
What's the first one?
Cell salts.
What is that?
Cell salts are, you can get them on Amazon. They're basically just these little tiny things that replenish what we burn out in our cells. So when we have electricity
Oh,
running
cell
through
salt.
us,
Okay, cell salt. I got you. I
yeah,
got you. And the second one was what?
adaptogens.
I've heard that name. What is that?
Adaptogens help us to regulate our body. So if our blood pressure is high, it helps us to balance it out. If our blood pressure is low, it helps us to balance it out. Adaptogens are probably one of the most important things because when you have a current of electricity running through you, which everyone on this planet now does, that electricity is causing you to speed up. And that speed up is causing you to have hyperthyroidism, to have pain in parts of your body you didn't know you could have pain, to lose your vision, to be overwhelmed by stress. And adaptogens, one of the main things they do is they help to regulate stress in the body. Most adaptogens can take up to 30% of the body's stress away within like a few weeks of taking it. So this is a big deal because the number one killer of a human body is stress. Almost all sickness comes from it. So that's very important. So if you have the ingredients for your cells, which are cell salts, then your body's going to handle things a lot easier, right? You're not going to need to get sick as much because you're going to have the resources. If you have the adaptogens, your body's not going to need to be stressed out, so it's not going to burn through more resources than is necessary. And the last one, the coconut carbon, helps your body to shift over to the crystallized carbon that we're moving into. But on top of that, the activated charcoal aspect of it just helps your body to detox in a gentler way. And you need to take these, if you decide to take these, at your own pace. This is very important. Learn from them. Don't rely on them.
Yeah. Just kind of get you started.
Yeah. I have a whole post about all this on my notes if anyone really needs to, but there are a lot of ways to prepare, but those three things are almost paramount. Like I don't know how people's bodies are going to handle it without them, at least learning from them for a few weeks. Yeah. And you can even, if you can't afford those things, for the people out there who literally can't afford it, go on Amazon and stare at it, feel the energy of it, and bring it into your field and allow yourself to learn from it. Because you don't have to necessarily physically take it to learn from it, which I talked about in our last video about the body of the child.
You can still pull the energy in.
Exactly. And you're not stealing. You're just connecting to that concept and bringing the energy into your field. There's nothing wrong with that.
Which is going to be more and more of our lives as time goes on anyway.
Yes. As we move into the ascended world completely, essences are going to be more powerful than physicality, which is going to be a great time on this planet. Yeah.
I can't wait. Well, I appreciate it, brother. Thank you all for all the information as usual. I look forward to collaborating with you many more times and working with you and supporting you and all the things that you're doing. Thanks a lot from everybody today. And thank you everybody for joining us. And we'll see you again Sunday with the Magenta Pixie in the morning.
Have a blessed and beautiful one. Bye.
You too. Peace out.